my name is Sydney. Welcome back to my channel. I am so excited for today's video because we are going to be doing the mid-year book tag / mid-year reading update. I am so excited to talk to you guys about the books that I have read so far this year, as well as give you guys a little update as to where I am so far with reading and how I am feeling so far with the first half of the year behind us. I want to start off by giving you guys some stats and updates. So far, I have read 18 books, and I am honestly kind of surprised. For some reason, I felt like I have read more books than only 18, and I am a little bit disappointed in myself because I feel like this year I have been so excited about reading, and I just have been so busy I haven't been able to read as much as I had really hoped I could. I am also not on track with my reading goal because my reading goal for 2026 is 50 books. And I'm not going to beat myself up on not meeting this goal if I don't. Fingers crossed I do meet this reading goal because I really, really want to. But I don't want to put too much pressure on myself if I can't meet it. If I do want to stay on track to read 50 books by the end of the year, I will need to read 6 books a month, which hasn't really been anywhere near what I've been reading. I believe last month I only read 3 books. So obviously we are going to need to up our game for the next half of this year. My average rating this year is 4 stars, which is actually really good. I honestly feel like I haven't read that many books that I have been super excited about. I think I've only had 3 5-star reads, which is pretty surprising to me because there were some books that I've read this year that I thought were going to be higher ratings than they actually were. But honestly, I'm not complaining with the average star rating. And then something else I thought would be fun to just throw in is what reading habit am I trying to improve? And that is reading or listening to at least 1 chapter of a book a day. I was really trying to keep on track with reading every single day, whether it was listening to a chapter in an audiobook or actually physically reading a chapter from whatever book I was reading. My longest streak was 19 days, which honestly, when I had that streak going, I was super, super dedicated to continuing that streak. And honestly, I don't even know what happened when I ended up breaking that streak. So I'm going to commit and hold myself accountable to trying to at least read or listen to 1 chapter a day, because I feel like that is going to get me in the habit of obviously reading every day and hopefully getting me closer to my end of year reading goal of 50 books. Now that I have given you guys a little bit of an update of where I'm at in my reading journey so far this year, we are going to get right into these questions. First question we have is the best book you've read so far this year, and that is Promise Me Sunshine by Kara Bastone. This was the first 5-star read I read this year, and guys, this was also my first Kara Bastone book, and I absolutely loved this book. I loved her writing. I connected so much with our female main character, and I just loved the relationship. I loved the progression between our 2 main characters and how it went from strangers to lovers. And everything was just so good. I literally have no notes. If you haven't read this book or really any book by Kara Bastone, I definitely think you guys need to pick this book up because it was my first 5-star read. And I'm not gonna lie, before I picked up this book, I was getting a little bit discouraged with reading because I had felt like I should have already found a 5-star read. But once I picked up this book and I finished it, honestly, I feel like that revived me, and I was even more excited to continue to read, especially continue to read more of Kara Bastone's books. The next question we have is the worst book I have read so far this year, and that was The Last Time She Saw Him by Kate White. And this is a thriller book. Honestly, the plot sounded very interesting to me. I ended up giving this a 3 stars, which is definitely the lowest rating I've ever given a book. I don't know. I just really thought that the plot and the idea of it was good, but it just wasn't executed properly, and I feel like there was a lot of plot holes, there was a lot of unanswered questions, and things that I was just overall confused about at the end of the book. And I also feel like it was very, very rushed at the end. There was just a lot of things that I wish had gone differently, or that I wish we had have gotten answers to. I did like listening to this book on audiobook, I will say that, but unfortunately it just wasn't my favorite. And when I'm reading a mystery or thriller book, I obviously don't want to guess the plot or guess what is going to happen. And in this book, I ended up being able to guess a lot of the twists and turns and the like surprise that happened at the end. So that also contributed to why it was my least favorite / worst book that I've read so far this year. Next up, we have the best sequel you've read so far this year, and that was Redeeming Six by Chloe Walsh. This is the second book following Joey and Aoife. I am counting this as a sequel because it is following the first book that was about Joey and Aoife. So I think it counts, but guys, I absolutely love all of the Boys of Tommen books that I have read so far, and I love Joey and Aoife. I am so sad and I feel so hard for Joey because of all of the stuff that he goes through. And if you guys haven't read any of the Boys of Tommen books, definitely look up trigger warnings because there are a lot of heavy topics covered throughout this series. These are very thick and long books, but honestly, I feel like every single time I read them, I'm flying through them. This series as a whole, this book, Joey and Aoife, are just literally so amazing. And Amazon Prime is actually adapting this series into a show, so we will see how that goes, but I am excited for that. And I just love every single one of these characters. I love all of the couples, and I just love every single one of the books that I have read in this series so far. New release that you haven't read yet but want to. The first one I have is Starside by Alex Aster. This is a fantasy book. This is on my TBR for the month of July. If I don't get to it, I will definitely be reading this sometime in the fall season. But guys, I have seen so many people talk about this book and how much they loved it. So I'm really thinking that this is going to be a 5-star read. But I'm not gonna lie, that also kind of intimidates me. So that is probably why I have yet to pick it up. But I am so excited for when that time comes. Another new release that I am very, very excited to pick up is The Someday Garden by Ashley Poston. This one is actually also on my July TBR. And if you guys don't know, Ashley Poston is one of my all-time favorite authors. I will read anything she writes, and this is her newest release that came out in June. And I honestly have not seen anybody talk about it, which I feel like is really, really weird that I haven't seen this circulating around the book community. But maybe it's because it just came out and people just haven't had enough time to read it. And if I'm being completely honest, I literally know nothing about this book, but since it's Ashley Poston, I could care less what I do or don't know, and I will be reading it, and I'm excited to see the magical realism we get, and I'm really, really excited to dive into this story. Now we are going to talk about my most anticipated release for the second half of the year, and that is going to be the 6th book in the ACOTAR series. I'm sure all of you guys are also highly anticipating this book. I'm so excited to dive back into this world and be with these characters again. We don't have a title, we don't have a cover, and we don't know anything about this book literally at all. All we know is that the 6th book in the series is going to be coming out in October. And honestly, I feel like that's all I need to know. I do really, really, really hope we are going to be following Feyre because I love Feyre. I won't be mad if we are going to follow one of the sisters, but I do really hope that we get Feyre because I just, like, she holds a special place in my heart. So that is definitely the #1 book that I am looking forward to coming out in the second half of this year. The next question is the biggest disappointment, and that was Reckless by Lauren Roberts. I read this towards the beginning of the year, and this is the second book in the Powerless trilogy. Guys, I was very disappointed by this book. I loved Powerless, I loved Peyton and Kai, and when I went into this book, I did really expect to like it. Unfortunately, it fell short for me. I just feel like there was a lot of things that were going on that were very repetitive, and it just didn't really give me anything at all, and it was just disappointing. But I do really love the trilogy as a whole. Unfortunately, I think this book we could have done without, or maybe had something different. I don't know. It just fell flat for me, and it didn't give me anything that I was looking for. Obviously, I loved seeing Peyton and Kai, but I just wish that this book gave so much more than it actually did. Following that, we have the biggest surprise, and that was actually The Deal by Elle Kennedy. It took me so long to pick up this book, and the only reason I picked it up was because I wanted to read the book before I watched the show. I am so freaking happy that I did that because I loved being able to see the characters and then actually watch them on screen. And knowing what the cast looked like, I went into this book picturing those people. So I feel like it made me love the show even more because I was able to actually picture those people while I was reading the book. Guys, I didn't think that I was going to love this as much as I did. I gave it a 5 stars, which is very, very surprising to me because I thought it was going to be cringy. I thought I wasn't going to like it. I didn't know how I was going to feel about the sports romance because it is a sports romance focused on hockey, and I just didn't know if that was anything I was going to be interested in. And I will now say I am a hockey fan, and I absolutely love this series, even though I literally have only read the first book. But the second book is on my TBR for this month, and I will be reading it because I am absolutely obsessed. I cannot wait for the second season to come out. Obviously, that's not going to come out anytime soon. And I'm so happy that I finally picked up this book after having it on my TBR for probably like 2 years, maybe. If you haven't picked up The Deal yet, I need you guys to pick up The Deal. Is it a little bit cringy? Yes, but it fit the time for when it was written, so that makes sense. But honestly, I wasn't mad at the cringe. I kind of loved it. Next question is favorite new author, debut, or just new to me. And my favorite new author is Kara Bastone. I read 2 of her books this year so far. Guys, Kara Bastone's writing, it is just so beautiful, and she does cover some heavier topics or more serious topics, but she also throws in humor, so it's serious but also lighthearted at the same time. I would be sad and emotional one second and then happy, excited, and hopeful the next second. And I feel like when an author is able to evoke multiple different emotions in me while reading a book, I think that really puts them at the top and makes them stand out for me, because sometimes I could really love a book and I could really love the characters, but if I'm not feeling emotionally connected, or if I'm not feeling that emotion that they're feeling, I feel like sometimes it falls a little bit flat for me. But in the 2 books I have read by Kara Bastone so far, I can definitely say that I have felt all of the emotions, even though I might not 100% be able to relate to the characters and what they're going through. I could feel how they felt through Kara Bastone's writing, and I just think that speaks for itself. So if you guys haven't read anything by Kara Bastone yet, please go and pick up one of her books because her writing is just so good, and the little comedic parts that she throws in just make it 10 times better. Next question is favorite adaptation you've watched this year. I have 2. The first one is People We Meet on Vacation, and that is by Emily Henry. It is now a movie on Netflix, and honestly, I was very surprised that I actually enjoyed the movie as much as I did. And I will say they kept it pretty close to how the book actually went, which I did really enjoy, because I know with some other book to movie or show adaptations, they don't really stick too much to the book's storyline, which can sometimes annoy me. This one, they did a really, really good job. And I do think this is the perfect time of year to read this book and watch the movie, because it is based more in like the summertime. So if you haven't read or watched the movie yet, definitely go pick up the book, watch the movie, because I really enjoyed it. The second adaptation that I loved this year was, of course, The Deal. I'm sure all of you guys have seen how much this show blew up. Guys, it was so freaking good. I love Garrett and Hannah. I was obsessed with the book, and right when I finished the book, I went into the show and I was just as obsessed, if not more obsessed, with the show. I honestly just loved this show so much. I was struggling to find a series that I actually enjoyed that wasn't something that I had already watched before, and this series was exactly what I needed. All of the characters were actually perfect. I loved all of them. I cannot wait for Allie and Dean's season. I literally have no words for how excited I am for their season. And if you guys haven't read The Deal or watched the show yet, please go do that. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. Next question we have is most underrated book you've read so far this year. So I actually have two books for this question, and the first one is Alchemy of Secrets by Stephanie Garber. While this wasn't a 5-star read and it wasn't my all-time favorite book or my favorite book by Stephanie Garber, I do think this still was a very enjoyable read for me, and it was just overall a fun and fast-paced book. Every time I stopped reading, I was excited to go back and pick it up. I just feel like not a lot of people talked about it, or at least I didn't see a lot of people talk about the book, which I feel like is pretty surprising because a lot of people love the Once Upon a Broken Heart series that she has, and also the Caraval series that she has. So I was very surprised when I wasn't hearing a lot of people talk about this book when it first came out, and I still haven't seen that many people talk about it. But if you guys haven't read this book yet, I think you guys should definitely pick it up. It is very much giving whimsy and all the fantasy vibes. It is like magic, and it is just so fun to follow our main character in Los Angeles go into this like magical world and see what is going on and how much she has like missed or kind of been just like kept in the dark about. It is so good. And I love Stephanie Garber. This definitely was a little bit of a letdown because of how much I love her. I was really going in with high expectations, but I will say I still had a really fun time and it was very enjoyable. There were some things that I wish could have been answered or that I wish maybe would have gone a little bit differently. Overall, I really liked this book and I feel like it has been very underrated. The second book I have for this question is No Matter What by Cara Bastone. This is Cara Bastone's newest release. It came out this year. And again, I feel like I haven't seen that many people talk about it. And if they talk about it, it's just because it's on their TBR. They haven't actually read it. This was the second book I read this year by Cara Bastone, and this just solidified my love for her writing. Again, she is such a good writer. Her writing is beautiful, and the way she's able to make you feel like the characters are real people is exactly what I'm looking for when I am reading a book, specifically a romance book, because I want to feel like the connection that these characters have is real and like their life is real. And I think she did a fantastic job with this. Again, if you guys haven't read a Cara Bastone book, please go pick one of her books up. Next up, we have the lowest rated book so far this year, and that is The Last Time She Saw Him by Kate White. I gave this one 3 stars, and then I think this one might be a little bit shocking or controversial to some people, but I gave Shatter Me by Tahereh Mafi 3 stars as well, which I listened to this on audiobook, and I know obviously it's a YA series, and I know that so many people love the Shatter Me series. I don't know if it's just because it was an introduction book to the world and everything, but I just didn't really love how it was written. Again, maybe that could get better throughout the series. I definitely will be continuing this series just because of how many people love it. I did have a good time and I did like it, so I would probably bump it up to like a 3.5, but still it definitely just wasn't my fave. It also wasn't horrible, and 3 stars is definitely not the worst rating in the world. I just feel like it was missing some things for me, but I will say I think I am going to continue this series. The last question we have is the highest rated books that I have read so far this year. The first one is Promise Me Sunshine, which I gave 5 stars. And then the second one I rated 5 stars was Redeeming Six because, of course, Boys of Tommen I absolutely love, and I cannot even fathom giving any Boys of Tommen book less than 5 stars. And then, again, to my surprise, I gave The Deal by Elle Kennedy 5 stars. Super shocking to me. I just really loved it, and I honestly think about all of these characters so much ever since I had finished all 3 of these books. And if you guys have not read any of these yet, please go pick them up, because I will say I haven't gotten many 5-star feels from a lot of books recently, and I have been kind of disappointed from the first half of my year with reading. I feel like 3 out of 18 books that I've read so far this year have gotten 5 stars isn't that great of a stat. But I'm hoping that the second half of this year we will have more 5 stars, because I feel like there are some highly anticipated reads that are on my TBR that I really am feeling like might be 5 stars. So we will see, but if you guys haven't picked up any of these books yet, I definitely recommend you guys pick them up, because I don't know, I gave them a 5 stars, so I like to think that I have good taste, and I think that you guys would probably also enjoy these. Those were all of the questions that I have for this mid-year reading update slash book tag, and I do have a question for you guys. That is, what is a book that everyone should read before this year ends, slash if you could recommend one book that you've read so far this year, what would that book be? Let me know in the comments, because I think it would be really interesting to see what book everybody recommends and what your favorite book has been so far this year. I will definitely be on the lookout for all of your responses, because I want to add those books to my TBR, and maybe one of your favorite books that you have read so far this year will also be one of my favorite books. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to stay tuned for more videos from me, and happy reading!